What's up, everyone? We are back, season 6 of the Allen Powell Show. A lot's been going on. We got a lot to discuss today. Dennis Rodman thinks he can help Brittney Griner, so he said he's going to travel to Russia and see what he can do. The worm is at it again. We had a big fight over the weekend. Usyk versus Joshua. Great fight, and we're going to see possibly an undisputed heavyweight champion since a long time. I got a fantasy guru coming on that's going to give y'all some fantasy tips, some sleepers. I know everybody getting ready for the football season, fantasy football. So we're going to talk to him. And the Bears have played 2 preseason games. So all the local guys, how are you feeling about the Chicago Bears after 2 games? And then, of course, we got to talk about Kevin Durant. So with all that being said, everybody, let's get ready to lock and load and come on with your hot takes. Let's go.
Hello, Allen Powell. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come
on. Welcome back. Season 6 is just jumping off. Man, it's been a long time. We took a little mini break. Man, got a lot to discuss. I know I missed y'all, so I'm hoping y'all come on in with your hot takes, your comments. It's been a minute. Let me know what's on your mind, but I got a lot to discuss today. There's my wife coming in already. Bear Still. Yes, it's Bear Still. She wants to jump ship. We not jumping ship around here. It's still Bears. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, listen, we got a lot to discuss, man. But I got a special guest in the building. He's going to help you get some fantasy tips. And he also is going to give us some takes about these Bears and a lot other stuff. So without further ado, Mr. Jamar Goodman, thanks for coming on with us, brother.
Man, how you doing today, sir?
I am good, man. You can catch this brother all over the place. Jay Good with Sports, Destination Fantasy Podcast. Early morning podcast. This brother got podcasts all over the place. So we're going to make sure he give you all that info at the end of the show, too, where you can catch him at. Look, man, I want to get right into it, man. I had some other stuff to talk about, but the big news that came away today, Kevin Durant is going to be staying with Brooklyn. He met with the GM, I guess the GM owner, and they came to a mutual agreement that he's actually going to stay. Because it was reports that saying, hey, either fire Steve Nash and the GM or trade me. And wasn't anything matriculating, and he had to stay. I mean, they was asking for the house. They was asking for all types of first round picks, all players, and it wasn't no trade suitable out there. What do you think that he's staying now? Where does that even put Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference?
I mean, look, they was already a title contender before all this, madness happened, right? And
right.
So, you get Kevin Durant back. Apparently, they're gonna bring the band back together. So there's no Kyrie Irving trade. Supposedly, it's not gonna happen now. You added Royce O'Neal before all the shenanigans started. You brought back Patty Mills. Hopefully, Ben Simmons actually, shows up and actually plays the game, suits up. I mean, honestly, they right there if everything, pans out, all these ifs. But, I mean, that's where we're at, just a bunch of ifs. If everything works out, if Ben Simmons is on the court, if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving actually buys into Steve Nash and Sean Marks and whatever they're doing, Seth Curry got him back, Joe Harris whenever he comes back from injury, you have all the pieces. So, I mean, they're right there. I feel like them and the Milwaukee Bucks are, like, on paper, are the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference to me.
Black Butterfly Pod checking in says right there in Milwaukee, I'm taking Bucks in 7. Man, listen, I'm shocked. For the first time, an owner and the GM stood up to the players. Like, listen, you got 4 years in the contract. No, you cannot go. You're going to play, and that's just what it is. Can this actually begin a trend where owners and GMs start to step up to the players?
I mean, they have to. I mean, look, it's like for the past several years, it seemed like the players had like all the power.
Right.
The fact that Kevin Durant still have 4 years left on his deal, it's like there's no leverage. Like there's only so much that he could do.
Right.
The fact, like Brooklyn holds all the cards, so they didn't really have a choice but to make this happen. Otherwise, he could just sit there and choose not to play, and if he choose not to play, he don't get paid. So therefore, I mean, this was like the final result instead of taking a crappy deal.
Yeah, and Brooklyn still got a lot of questions, man. You got Ben Simmons. You don't know where his head is at. I would say this. They got Kyrie, I believe, right where they need Kyrie on a contract year, wanting to get that money. So he got motivation to play very hard and very smart. I don't think you're going to see too many shenanigans with Kyrie this year because he wants that bag.
Agreed.
Let's not get it twisted. But Brooklyn, man, they got a lot of question marks with Ben Simmons, man. But if they got everybody together with Joe Harris, Seth Curry, like you say, Royce O'Neal, like this is a championship roster on paper. On paper. I was just shocked that they finally stood up to Kevin Durant. Like you say, 4 years left on the contract. Usually these people make these moves with 1 or 2 years when they don't want to lose out, getting nothing. But they was going to be giving somebody the rest of Kevin Durant's prime 4 years, and they didn't. I don't think they got the right compensation, so they didn't trade him. Johnny checking in, they'll implode mid-season without no leadership. That is definitely a possibility. Yeah. That's a great point, Johnny. That is definitely a possibility that Kyrie might go off the rails. And even though Kevin Durant has come back, it don't mean he's happy about coming back. He probably didn't see no way out of this situation as far as trades go. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna come back. But he might still be unhappy. He might be in the locker room, causing problems. So we don't know how it's gonna play out. It definitely can implode. We got one Facebook user says on paper is the key word. That is facts. And Black Butterfly Pasta Nets match up very well with Bucks. KD was stripping big time. Kyrie will be gone by trade deadline. It depends. It depends on the record, what's going on. I mean, only way I see Kyrie being traded is if, like you say, they implode and it's just a straight disaster. But if they in a playoff mix, I don't see Kyrie going anywhere. What about you, Jamar?
Yeah, I don't see it either. Because Kyrie's skill set is like a perfect complement to Kevin Durant. Kyrie can create his own. Kyrie takes pressure off a lot of other people. So, yeah, in order for this not to work, Kyrie would just have to be Kyrie personality-wise and just, not play type deal.
I would say this. Monkeypox is on and popping, okay? Monkeypox is alive. And if something happens where they got to take another vaccine for monkeypox or something like that, we don't know. Kyrie might go into his bag again, you never know. And so we got to watch out for monkeypox. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the thing we got to see. If monkeypox, show us behind, then we got something to think about. But it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, the cases keep rising. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that. But monkeypox is on the rise. So, but hopefully we don't got to deal with that. You got a couple of more comments. You're right, in the contract year for Kyrie, he will ball out. And so that was the big news today. We're going to see what happens in Brooklyn. We definitely got to keep our eyes on Ben Simmons because he's the next piece. We got to see what's going to happen with him. Is he actually going to play? What kind of reaction he's going to get when he plays? I mean, he's the next big key because I feel like you got Kyrie and KD in the fold now. Next, we got to see what Ben Simmons is going to do.
Facts.
So, with that being said, that was the news in basketball. Other than that, I want to move on to some football because we're getting ready for the NFL season. Two games have passed by for the Bears, and I've been watching, and I'm cautiously optimistic about what I'm seeing from Justin Fields. And I like some of the young players that they have on defense. One of the guys, Jaquan Brisker, he just broke his thumb. He's going to be out. Hopefully he'll be back by opening week. but I like the way he moves. That guy is moving around like he's a seasoned vet. I like what I'm seeing from Justin Fields, even though it's preseason, kind of vanilla defenses and things of that nature. I like what I'm seeing from him movement-wise and the play calling. What are your thoughts about the Bears' first 2 preseason games?
Yeah, like from a schematic, point stands, they look a lot better. It's like new coach, new system. It seems like players are buying in. They're playing hard. Um, in the second game, I know they was basically out there for that drive, but just to see that they actually have plays designed for Justin Fields to like move around and make plays instead of being a sitting duck in the pocket with the offensive line that's still trying to come together. So to see that happening, like you said, defense actually looked like they're with some energy, like playing for the ball, tackling a lot better, making plays. It just seemed like everybody's buying in. This is one of those years that, expectations aren't there. But, just for the standpoint of, creating a culture of a winning environment, you can definitely see it. The bootlegs left and right.
And you see that play right there, that bootleg. That's the type of thing, that stuff that I'm talking about that I like to see. I like the way it's moving. I think Cole Kmet have a chance to have a big year. What do you think about Cole Kmet?
Oh, yes. I mean, between him and Mooney, I mean, those are going to be the main targets. Cole Kmet is, second-round pick from Notre Dame a couple of years ago. I mean, they drafted him to be a playmaker. I mean, I think a lot of people sleeping on him, especially fantasy-wise, but we'll get into that later.
They dropped a little nugget on you real quick before we even talk about fantasy. Sammy Sales says, I kind of lost faith in the Bears organization. Hearts be broken too many times. I'm not ready to love again. I will say this. It's been tough. It's been a tough few years, but I actually like what I'm seeing. I don't like the personnel as much. I wish they would have got him some more help. But, usually when the Bears get defensive coaches, they do well. If you look at history, they get defensive coaches, they do well. So they have a decent defensive coach from Indianapolis, Eberflus, and I think the defense is going to be sneaky good. And I think the offense have a chance to be okay. And Justin Fields is in his second year. I hate the fact that he have to learn another offense, but in his second year, I think he's going to be. I like Justin Fields a lot. So I'm sneaky confident in my Bears. I think the ceiling is a 9-8 season. The ceiling 9-8. So that's my ceiling. I don't think they can win more than 9 games, but I think they can lose as many as 10 or 11. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I can see that happening. I guess it all depends on, how well they are playing together and minimizing penalties, which I did see in that Seattle game. You didn't see too many false starts or anything like that. And that was a thing that was, big for us in the last few years, just boneheaded penalties. You didn't see too much of that. They seem disciplined, and that would give us a chance to actually win some games.
And as we're watching these highlights, Seattle made some plays, but we got to remember Roquan has not been in the middle of that defense as well. So we gotta take that in consideration when watching this defense. That Roquan is not playing right now, so that's going to be key when he gets back. I think he's going to help out the defense a lot. So we're gonna see what that looks like when Roquan gets back. Other than that, I just want to see, like you say, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney. I wish they would have got another receiver. I do like Velus Jones. I've seen him do some kick returning. He looks very speedy. I think he's going to be able to stretch the field, but we're relying on a young guy, and I just wish Darnell Mooney would have some more help on a wide outside.
Yeah, I mean, overall they brought in a lot of guys that solid, but upsize limited, but also all these guys are like on 1-year deals. So basically they have something to prove too. So you're probably gonna get the best out of these mediocre guys. So somebody might surprise you. Maybe a Byron Pringle, maybe St. Brown's brother. I can't pronounce his first name, but
that's
who
bad.
knows?
If you can't pronounce his name, that's not a great thing. No.
Yeah.
but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on, man. Listen, I brought you on this show because it's fantasy football time. everybody is doing a fantasy football drafts. Quite as kept. I am the defending champ in your league. I don't know if y'all got one going this year, but I just want to put that out there. Like I am the defending champ. So I can be kind of an expert today too. But you are the real expert. You have a whole show dedicated to fantasy football. My first question is, what is for all the people that play fantasy football, who would you choose as the number one pick for fantasy football if you was to have the number one pick? What's the number one pick?
Jonathan Taylor, without a doubt. Indianapolis Colts running back.
Can you go wrong and tell me why you got him over Derrick Henry?
Well, for one, he's a lot younger. 2, Derrick Henry's coming off a foot injury. 3, just the weapons in Indianapolis and the scheme that they use right now, it just opens it up for Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he proved last year that, one play changes the whole dynamic. There was so many big plays that he, each week in and week out, he won you a week just because of one big play. And then the volume on top of that is basically a no-brainer. It's Jonathan Taylor this year.
So Jonathan Taylor is the pick for fantasy football expert Jamar Goodman. Can you give the people some sleepers? Some sleepers that people might not know that you might want to take a look at in the later rounds, or just a sleeper overall?
All right, so got a few that's probably undervalued, and that's definition of sleeper. So I'll give you a bigger name, and I'll go down the list of more and more surprise names. Saquon Barkley. That is a guy that the past couple of years, injuries, playing with the Giants, just overall just been bad. Hasn't had a real impact year since his rookie year, but the way that they have Dable as a coach now, new scheme. I mean, he is the offense. I think you're going to see a lot more in the passing game there. So definitely I'm very high on Saquon Barkley this year. A couple of running backs that has a split backfield, like Tony Pollard in Dallas.
Okay. I like that.
Just from the eye test alone for the past year and a half, he has that explosiveness. He has that pop. Ezekiel Elliott, every year since he's been in the league, his yards per game has decreased steadily every year. Pollard is very explosive. He actually has hands. His ball carrying vision is very underrated. And the limited times that he is out there, he is very productive. So that's a guy. Another guy that's going to be very productive as well is A.J. Dillon.
From Green Bay.
Yes. I think the head coach, LaFleur, came out and said Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon is 1A and 1A. So that lets you know right there that is a even split. And that lets me know that probably Aaron Jones is going to be the ones like in between the 20s, and then A.J. Dillon is probably going to be the vulture getting you all the touchdowns.
Right. Goal line back. I like that pick with A.J. Dillon because he's definitely a big back, and he definitely can give you some points down on the goal line. So that's very interesting. You talked about Cole Kmet when we was talking about the Bears, man. What do you think he can do in fantasy?
I think he has a ceiling of a top 10 finish at tight end. Just because of the sole reason, the lack of weapons in Chicago outside of Darnell Mooney, who else is Justin Fields throwing the ball to that he probably trusts right now?
Facts.
Cole Kmet got hands. Cole Kmet, we have seen flashes of him make big plays when he's given the opportunity. So why not?
Yeah, and that's a great point. After Darnell Mooney, I think he has to be the next guy with the most targets. He has to be a security blanket, tight end, big target, and he's played with Justin Fields last year. So I definitely think he can put up some numbers for Justin Fields this year. That's another great pick. Other than that, man, any other tips you might have for fantasy football players, people that's playing in leagues?
Yeah, so just a couple more things. One deep sleeper, and I'll leave it at that. Brian Robinson Jr., running back for the Commanders.
Wow.
Yeah, so apparently Antonio Gibson starting to look like he's going to be in a doghouse, and there's actually a couple of reports that Robinson might actually be the starting back week 1 just based on Gibson's inefficiencies to hold on to the football. So just throwing that out there.
Okay.
And also have a list of players that you probably want to stay away from, just FYI.
Okay.
Tom Brady is one. And I know Tom Brady finished top 3 or top 4 quarterback last year, but the fact they have 4 offensive lineman changes from either retirement, injury, or just left in free agency, like that's a concern. The man's 45, he's not mobile. It just overall, it's just not a good look. So I would stay away from Tom Brady. I'm staying away from Ezekiel Elliott and Aaron Jones based on the reasons I gave for Tony Pollard and AJ Dillon respectfully there.
Right.
So I wouldn't draft them as high as they're going. DK Metcalf, as much as a freak of nature he is, without a quarterback, I don't see it. And then lastly, I'm not too high on Darren Waller this year. I know Darren Waller is, arguably a top 5 fantasy tight end, but the fact that Devontae Adams is there and the emergence of Hunter Renfrow, lack of targets is going to come by on that one.
Okay. That's fantasy football tips with expert Jamar Gilman. We're going to tell you how to get in contact with him if you need some more fantasy football tips personally. We're going to give you all this info. We got a YouTuber checking in. We talked about Kevin Durant earlier, but they came in and said, how can the Nets come back from this? KD requested a trade, demanded the GM and coach to be traded. I don't see it working out. I see chemistry being awful, and I can see that KD wants out again. That is going to be interesting. And so let's play a little role play or something. Say I'm Kevin Durant and I ask for you to be fired. You're my coach, but I ask for you to be fired. Like, how does that work when we come back to the locker room again? Can we mend those fences, or how does that work?
Bro, the first thing that has to happen is a conversation. Before we even start any type of training camps, any type of meetings, me and you, we got to meet in the hallway. Right now, look. Either this gonna work or you just gonna be chilling because we not letting you go. You too valuable. You're a top 15 player of all time. I'm just not trading you for pennies on the dollar, bro.
When you had this conversation, do you be like, yo, why did you want me fired? Do you ask that question?
You got to. The man Kevin Durant's been always straight up, so let's be straight up with him. Why? What's your problem? You gotta be.
I feel like that situation can get real ugly quick too. If he say the wrong thing, well, I want you fired because you this, that, and the other. And if he don't like what he say, I know Steve Nash don't want no parts of Kevin Durant. That's not a good, physical altercation. But man, I never thought I didn't think how the locker room is going to play out when they have to come together. But at the end of the day, it's a business. People got jobs. People got jobs to do. So I think at the end of the day, they have to get through it. The YouTube said, do y'all see Nash being fired? I don't see him as a good coach. I always thought that he was given a job. I think they thought he was the next Steve Kerr. They just gave him a job. Another thing, and I hate it because black coaches never get those opportunities where already made teams. And it seems like the white coaches always get the made teams. Mark Jackson built it up. Oh, Steve Kerr gets the ring. And then Brooklyn gets all the superstars. Come on, Steve Nash. And then what happens in Houston when a black coach get a head coaching? James Harden, I want out. And it's a fire sale. And we got to start all over. That's what the black coach get. So I hate that happens like that. But I never seen him as a good coach. And yeah, he possibly could be fired if they don't perform early. He definitely could be fired. What are your thoughts, Jamar?
Yeah, I agree for the most part, but it seems like ownership is backing Sean Marks and Steve Nash here, so it feels like their leash is a lot longer for this type of situation. It would have to be a catastrophe. I feel like Brooklyn would have to be 9th, 10th place with a full healthy roster by the trade deadline for something like that to happen.
Yeah. Realistically, Kyrie going to the Lakers and Lakers get the Pacers a Jazz deal. I think everybody gonna stand pat at this point. I think Kyrie gonna stand pat until the start of the season, see what happens, and see how everything go. I want to get to another interesting story, man. Dennis Rodman said he's going to go to Russia because he want to get Brittney Griner out of jail. Now we know Dennis Rodman is friends with some of the dictators around here. So I think he's friends with Putin. I think he's friends with Kim Jong-un. Is that how you pronounce his name? So he's friends with a few people. So for whatever reason, he thinks he can go to Russia and help Brittney Griner. I don't think he has a chance. And a matter of fact, people from the U.S. have says we don't have anything to do with this, and they actually think it can hurt Brittney Griner's case to get from there. Can Dennis Rodman actually help Brittney Griner? Do he got juice like that?
I mean, we about to find out. We about to find out. I mean, this man, like you mentioned, ended up in North Korea out of all places before with no problem and came back unscathed. So, I mean, this is Dennis Rodman, the worm, the one who has. If we made a movie about this man, I think it'd be box office. So, I mean, I don't see it, but then again, I mean, you never know.
I will say this: he go. Now they already telling him not to go. Now he go over there and they get him. I don't think the U.S. is going to be too aggressive and trying to get him back. I think they like, you know what? We told you not to go, and you went on over there anyway. You might be stuck. So I think Dennis Rodman might want to think twice about going over there. But you know, it is what it is. Andre Armstrong checking in. Alan Powell Show, love you, my bro. Appreciate you checking in, Armstrong. Biden said, "Don't you take your monkey over there." Hey, man, Dennis Rodman goes by a different set of rules, man. But we're going to see what happens when he going over there. But I hope Brittney Griner, she does. Hopefully she does get back soon. It's been a long time, man, long time. But it's tough. It's tough. We had a big fight over the weekend. Oleksandr Usyk versus Anthony Joshua, heavyweights, and it was I didn't see the fight live, but I went back and watched it, and it was a good fight, man. But once again, I always thought Anthony Joshua was a little overrated, and he doesn't have a good chin, and Usyk is a underrated heavyweight. I mean, undersized heavyweight, and he gives Anthony Joshua fits. And so, as we watch these highlights, Joshua started out strong. He started out strong, but as I'm watching this fight, it's like he started to fade. He started to get tired, and he started holding on. And Usyk has really good skills. Really good skills. And so, man, he ended up getting the split decision. And now we're looking at a Usyk, Tyson Fury, undisputed fight. And Joshua was the bigger fighter in this fight. And so Usyk is going to have to fight another bigger fighter in Tyson Fury. But I don't think it bothers him. But if you watch these highlights, Anthony Joshua, like I say, started good, going to the body and all that. But as the fight wears on, mentally Usyk is better, and Anthony Joshua gets tired. And then after the fight, it was some more antics. But just as a heavyweight with Usyk, what do you think about him as a heavyweight?
I mean, like you said about Joshua, I think he is a little overrated. But I mean, the fact that he's taking care of business here, the fact that he can last in these rounds, technique is there. I mean, I feel like he's solid. And against Fury, I think that's a whole nother animal right there, because Fury showed a lot of people what he's really made of and how highly skilled he is. So I don't know if he has a chance against Fury if that happens, but against Joshua, I mean, he pretty much let us know that, where Usyk is and how far behind Joshua is in all things respectfully in that one.
So I fast forwarded to closest to the end of the fight, and as you see, one
Oh
right
my
there, look,
gosh.
you see Anthony Joshua holding on, off balance. This when it started, he started to fade, and then Usyk still seemed like he's moving around better than Joshua. Joshua seems tired, and
Jeez.
Usyk is moving around, and it's like you can see it going downhill, and so um, Anthony Joshua, as I go to the end of the fight, Usyk wins by decision, and that's big. He's from Ukraine, so like he's trying to hold it down for them. I also want to play another video because Anthony Joshua couldn't compose himself. After the fight, he was doing some stuff that shocked me. He cried in the post game conference, but after the decision, he did something that was shocking. So at this point, the decision is done, and Anthony Joshua, he's walking around, and he's gonna grab the belts for some reason. And then as you watch this video, just watch what he does. Like he's just walking around, and then let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Trying to see because he's going to get the belts. Here we go. He grabs the belts. Holds them up, talking to the crowd, and then he just throws them on the ground. Usyk looking like, really? That's what you're doing? I don't know why he did that. He started getting upset. They got to hold him back. I don't know what he's upset about. It was some conversation. He was talking about how skilled he was to Usyk, but it was just weird.
What?
I know it's emotional, but why would he just throw the belts in the crowd? I don't understand it. But that's what happened. What do you
Bro.
think? What do you think was going through his head? Why would he throw the belts like that? And he throws the towel.
Man, I'm at a loss for words. I guess he just came to realization of what happened. Maybe he wasn't all the way there. I guess for sure he didn't expect this to be the outcome. But man, I don't know, bro. He on something.
He leaves the ring, then he comes back. He's upset. Yeah, I don't know. And he had another conversation with Usyk, but like I never seen somebody just take the belts that they didn't win and throw them in the crowd. I don't know. Sierra Williams says punk drunk. I don't know what's going on. But moving forward, I want to take a look at the tail of the tape for Fury versus Usyk. So they both are undefeated. And as you see, Tyson Fury is 6'9". Okay, Usyk is 6'3". I mean that's a big difference. It's a big difference, but I think Joshua was about 6'6", and so maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe he don't care about that. But what chance do you give Usyk in that fight?
I mean, I give him a puncher's chance, no pun intended. But I mean, the fact that what we saw at the end of that fight was a guy that was a lot more conditioned, a lot more prepared for the moment, and didn't let anything phase him. He ended up winning. It's just the fact that Tyson Fury is, I feel like, head and shoulders above a lot of people right now. And the fact that 6'9" compared to 6'3", I mean, may not make a difference to Usyk in his head, but I just know 6 inches in height, that is a big difference. 7 inches in reach too, so that's gonna be tough, man.
Yeah, I would say this though, Tyson Fury don't have the best chin as well. We've seen him get knocked out a few times by Deontay Wilder, but of course he's a big puncher. But I think that I want to see Usyk win. I just want to put that out there first. I do want to see Usyk win. And I think that they are both skilled fighters. It's going to be a technical fight. It's not going to be a slugfest, but it's going to be a boxing match. It's going to be a real boxing match, and I think it's going to be a good fight if Fury don't overwhelm him with the reach and height. But I think it's going to be a good fight.
I can see that.
So we're going to look forward to that fight. Listen, my come to church scripture for the day. Listen, it's James 1, 2, 2 and 3. I went to church and the pastor used this scripture, and it's like I've read the scripture plenty of times, but when I heard it this time, it hit a little different. So the scripture goes, "Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." And other versions say trials, I think tribulations and things of that nature. But when I said when he said consider it pure joy this time, for some reason what popped in my head was, if I go through some, what about just throwing a party? If I'm going through it, I'm gonna consider it joy because I know it's gonna produce something in the future for me. I know it don't seem like that's normal, but I think you would make the devil mad if you start partying or just have a praise party or whatever the case may be when you go through something. I told myself if I'm going through some type of trial, I'm gonna put on some turn up music or some party music to go with the scripture. Consider it pure joy that I'm going through this because I know that on the other end is going to help out my faith and is going to produce perseverance. So I hope that this scripture helps you when you're going through something. Just know that on the other end of that is going to produce perseverance, and it's a test of your faith. It's a test to see how much faith that you have. So I think that this was a great scripture. Like I said, I've seen it plenty of times, but it hit a little different this time, and it really made me say, let me start thinking about things a little different when I'm going through things. So that's my scripture today. Hopefully it helps you out some type of way. Listen, subscribe to our YouTube, people, if you haven't already. Follow, like, and review our Facebook page, Instagram. We on TikTok. I'm fresh off the golf course. This is my golf merch. Fall is coming. We're gonna have the hoodies coming. If you know anybody that has a business and want to advertise on the show, have them reach out to me and we promote their business. Jamar, tell everybody where they can catch you. You got all types of podcasts all over the place. Tell them where they can catch you at.
Man, they can catch me right here on Facebook. They can catch me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at J Good with Sports. The Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, that's live Saturday mornings on Facebook. Destination Fantasy podcast with fantasy football, that's going to be live on Facebook and YouTube Sunday mornings. The J Good with Sports podcast by itself, you can catch that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all podcasts that I just mentioned. You can catch those at the same time. Like you said, I'm about everywhere, so it's not hard to find me.
There it is. There, look him up, man. Y'all go support that brother and check him out. With all that being said, we are about to get out here. Thank you, brother, for joining me, man. Appreciate you.
Man, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure, man.
Yes, sir. Listen, we're going to see y'all next week, man. We are out of here.
Low, Allen Pass. It's the Allen Pass Show. Yeah. Come on.